It's the middle of the night when Vanessa, a pregnant woman, is rushed to the hospital. Her body is severely wounded, with a grotesque injury that doctors believe was caused by an attack from some wild animal. They work frantically to save her life, but the situation becomes complicated when Vanessa goes into labor. The atmosphere in the emergency room grows even tenser as the professionals struggle to help her give birth. After an extremely complicated and painful delivery, a boy is born. However, while the medical staff takes the baby away, Vanessa, exhausted and with irreparable injuries, succumbs and dies on the operating table. Years later, a completely different scene unfolds. A mysterious and extremely attractive woman leads an innocent and confused man to a kind of refrigerated chamber. The place looks strange and dark, but the man doesn't question it. The woman, however, reveals a secret entrance, guiding him into an exclusive and luxurious underground nightclub. Inside, the party is in full swing, pulsating music, vibrant lights, and a crowd dancing frantically. Everything seems normal at first glance, but the man begins to realize that something is off. Suddenly and unexpectedly, some drops of red liquid fall onto his face. Intrigued, he looks up and is struck with terror upon realizing that the ceiling sprinklers are spraying blood everywhere. He soon understands the terrifying truth: all the clubgoers are vampires. The scene turns chaotic as the man desperately tries to escape, crawling on the blood-soaked floor in search of an exit. However, he is interrupted when he notices a pair of clean, well-polished shoes standing out among the bloodied ground. A deathly silence falls over the club as a mysterious man appears. He is Blade, known to vampires as the Daywalker, the vampire hunter who walks in the sunlight. Without saying a word, Blade calmly strides to the center of the dance floor, and in the blink of an eye, begins a relentless massacre. Using a lethal combination of martial arts and firearms specially designed to take on vampires, he exterminates them one by one with brutal efficiency. His bullets are made of silver, and his sharp blades also bear the lethal metal for these creatures. The massacre continues as Blade faces hordes of vampires, and his skill is unquestionable. When surrounded by the club guards, led by the merciless vampire Quinn, he demonstrates even further his lethality. The fight against Quinn is particularly fierce. Blade uses his sword, blades, and stakes to eliminate various vampires simultaneously. In the end, he drives Quinn into a wall with stakes and sets the vampire on fire, leaving a clear message for Frost, another notorious vampire. Before Blade can complete his mission, police sirens echo from outside, forcing him to retreat. He vanishes before the authorities arrive, leaving only a stunned human and a carbonized Quinn as remnants of his passage. Believing Quinn is dead, the police take his charred remains for analysis at the hospital. Dr. Karen is assigned to perform the examination. She soon notices something extremely unusual about the vampire's body: his blood exhibits abnormal characteristics, and his fangs are terrifyingly large. Suddenly, Quinn shockingly awakens, still in a dreadful state. He attacks the other doctor present, draining part of his blood. Then he goes after Karen, who runs out of the room but is caught and bitten. However, before he can cause more damage, Blade appears, already anticipating Quinn's return. He confronts the revived vampire, but Quinn escapes once again, jumping into an ambulance and disappearing into the night. Meanwhile, Blade finds Karen on the floor, bleeding and desperate for help. Something about her reminds him of his mother, and he decides to assist her despite his rigid principles. Carrying her in his arms, Blade scales to another rooftop while dodging the gunfire from approaching police. He retaliates against the attacks before finally bringing Karen to his hideout. There, Whistler, Blade's mentor and ally, prepares a dose of garlic serum to inject into Karen, hoping to prevent her transformation into a vampire. Whistler warns Blade that if the treatment fails and Karen becomes one of the creatures, it will be necessary to kill her. Meanwhile, in the luxurious house of Erebus, the vampire leaders are gathered. The Shadow Council, composed exclusively of pure-blood vampires, those born as vampires, not turned, discusses Blade's recent attacks. Dragonetti, the elder of the council, reprimands Frost, a turned vampire, for his negligence in managing nightclubs like the one Blade invaded. The council members believe in a secret coexistence with humans, remaining a hidden and powerful force. Frost, on the other hand, advocates a more aggressive approach, insisting that vampires should openly rule humanity. This divergence of opinions creates a strong conflict between Frost and the purebloods, who consider him inferior. However, Frost promises to destroy the outdated traditions and impose his vision. The next day, Blade visits an acquaintance to replenish his garlic serum stock. He explains that his body is beginning to develop a resistance to the compound, which puts his mission at risk. Despite the limitations, his friend encourages him to continue, and the two share a brief moment of camaraderie. Back at the hideout, Karen awakens in a strange environment. She explores the place and encounters an impressive arsenal of weapons, including an intricately designed sword. As she exits, she observes Whistler injecting a liquid into Blade, who reacts violently, twitching and shaking. When she realizes she has been discovered, the duo quickly stops Karen from escaping and explains that they are on the same side. Whistler, a weaponry expert, develops the necessary tools for the fight against vampires, such as silver bullets, UV lamps, and garlic devices. They reveal that, due to the corruption and influence of vampires, the police are unable to help. Reluctantly, Karen begins to comprehend the gravity of the situation. Now they want her to go out, but first Whistler gives Karen a weapon known as the vampire threat so she can protect herself from the vampires who will surely come after her for knowing their secret. Meanwhile, Dragonetti visits Frost to scold him for wasting time and resources researching old vampire legends that are likely nonsense, slapping him for it. However, Frost remains unconcerned. When Karen arrives at her apartment building, she now suspects anyone she sees, especially people with strange tattoos on their necks. She finds Officer Krieger waiting in her apartment, and at first, he pretends he's there because she left the hospital without giving a statement. But suddenly, he attacks her, revealing that he is a familiar, a human who serves the vampires and, after years of service, could be rewarded if turned into a vampire. Blade suddenly appears, knowing this would happen because he was using Karen as bait. He beats up the officer and shows Karen the tattoo on the officer's neck before announcing that they will use Krieger to track Frost. They then check Krieger's car and find the truck full of blood bags, so Blade draws his weapon to demand an explanation. Karen stops him before he starts chaos in the city, and Krieger manages to escape. Blade decides to wait in a car outside for Krieger to reappear, and Karen announces that she is staying with him because she wants to find a cure. When night falls, Krieger comes to get his car, and Blade immediately begins to chase him through the city. Eventually, they arrive at a nightclub managed by vampires, and when they try to enter, a guard tries to stop them, but Blade simply beats him up.